Humans aren't the strongest or the most advanced species in the galaxy, but they are the most vengeful and persistent. They evolved as persistence predators. If you wrong them, they are willing to follow you across the stars and can spend years working to get back at you for what you did. You don't ever want to cross a human. They might not be able to lift shuttles. They might not be able to understand fifth-dimensional mathematics from birth. They have pretty terrible tech and can't even get past slipstream 4 speeds on their ships. But you don't ever want to cross them. Understand? The alien bartender in the low dive explained to the small gang of local thugs who'd come to him for work advice. One of them, a 4-legged Holdian, took a deep sip of his spiced Lanekian sweet wine and showed the bartender a commonly used hand gesture of disrespect. Yeah, old-timer. The humans are so fragging scary. Bunch of weirdos in their beat-up old ships and slug guns. What are they going to do? The bartender subconsciously itched at the hole where his third eye once had been, before remembering himself and stopping. Look, I get it. It's a lot of creds for this job, okay? The guys who are paying you are on the level and they pay on time, never involving the Bullin guards in their plans. But all I'm saying is, if you want to do it, wait until the humans leave the place before shooting it up. They'll be gone by tomorrow after the second sun sets. That's best when you're dealing with humans. Otherwise, your life is forfeit. Some of the thugs just laughed. Others scowled and mumbled words about never returning here for job postings again. Then they paid their tabs and left. He stared after them in the distance as they walked into the darkness of the frontier city, before pouring himself some double-distilled Alnokic spirits. Fragging young bucks. A figure moved over to the bar and quietly ordered some of what the bartender was having. One thing is for sure, they're never coming back here again. The individual who'd ordered looked up. They were wearing some kind of robe and a mask concealing their face. Why not? The bartender grumbled, and then let loose a sound that could have been quiet, sardonic laughter, or perhaps silent sobbing. They're dead. They could have waited, gotten the creds tomorrow, but they haven't got the patience. They'll cash in the reward in some other place where shade work is offered, and by this time next month, every last one of them will be dead. The hooded stranger shrugged and opened a small part of their mask to allow the strong drink to enter their system. Why, though? The hooded stranger asked. The bartender pointed at his missing eye. Years ago, a human did this to me. There was only an ugly burn scar where there had once been sight. Can't see ultraviolet anymore. We evolved this eye to perceive a nocturnal predator on my homeworld, one that had found a way to make itself unobservable, except if you could perceive light at a certain frequency. And a human burned it away. It used to make me able to see and avoid slipstream abyssal voids when the FTL engine was engaged without enhancement. Made me one of the best long-range FTL pilots in the sector. The stranger, perhaps curious, perhaps merely bored, stared at the scar for a bit, before taking another sip of their drink. Why'd any human do that? The bartender looked down at his feet. Because I made a mistake. Motioning with their hand to continue, the stranger waited for the story to continue. Back when I was in the business, shade work or frontier business or dirt jobs, whatever you call it, I made a mistake, signed on with some real bad people, a dark outfit, the Crimson Star Cartel. Not grey business like smuggling, extortion, but real bad shit. I needed the money, but that wasn't an excuse. I told myself back then that I was just the driver, just transporting goods from one place to another. Doesn't excuse the fact that it was dangerous drugs, chemical weapons and slaves. Not just from markets either. He spends a moment steadying himself, the stranger staring behind their mask. They'd raid small frontier colonies on outlying worlds, places where the law doesn't reach quite yet, places that maybe aren't official colonies, and they'd take everything they could. I'd just sit in the spaceship, waiting for the shuttles to get back on board, with whatever or whoever they'd stolen. I didn't like it, but I had habits to feed, I told myself. I had a girlfriend who couldn't work because she was hatching our egg. I didn't do it, and so for a while I could almost live with it. He sighs and empties his glass. The strong smell of powerful fruit-based ethanol brewed on distant worlds spread around the partially abandoned bar. Closing time would be soon, but the bartender was lost in dark memories. It all changed when they tried to hit a human colony. Sure, there was more resistance than usual, and what they looted sold for less than normal. But afterwards, people involved with the whole group just starting turning up dead, or going missing. I figured maybe someone had started to take notice of the cartel, so I got out of Dodge quickly. But I was wrong. It was the humans. Survivors who had fled into the wilderness on that wild world, slaves who had killed their masters and escaped, and they were hunting down everyone involved with their colony getting raided. He shudders, as if the memory of those days reaches inside and awakens him in parts of his soul where he dares not to dwell. Came for me eventually. I'd read up on the whole dismantling of the cartel. It had been brutal. Nobody had escaped. It had been years then, decades. But the humans don't stop, they don't give in. When enraged, they cannot be argued or reasoned with. They will keep going until death comes for them, or they've killed every bastard who've wronged them. They came to me, broke down my door, killed my security drones, told me to pick my career or my family. My mate, my spawn, were more important to me. If I had picked my work, I think they would have killed me. So they burned out my third eye, all the way to the brain. I can't even get a cybernetic replacement because the scar tissue is too prevalent for any attachment site to be found. Told me never to cross humans again. The old bartender, wearied from his story, begins to clean up using the sonic disbursement emitter and the floor's inbuilt auto-hygienators. The stranger mulls over their drink for a bit, thinking over the story perhaps, until the door to the bar is broken down. And in charges a Salaxonite war reaver, tall enough that her helmet scrapes against the ceiling of the bar. Behind it follows two more, shorter, and therefore noticeably male, Salaxonites. She sits, reaches with her 6 arms for the bartender, who is already reaching for a plasma refill, but is too late. The stranger finishes their drink and stands up. The large female Salaxonite doesn't notice, though her males look a little apprehensive. One is scared, the other looks vaguely hopeful. The female screams at the bartender, "Give me all the fragging alcohol in your shithole or I'll rip out with your throat with my teeth." Not noticing that the stranger is raising an odd metallic object from underneath their robe. It is a long tube, ending in a cyclic device with a handle and a small movable trigger on it. The stranger looks up at the much larger alien and speaks. "Are you Turnashah, daughter of Warmaster Turnola, who claimed her most recent male during the ritual slaughter of the Sinopian world beetle?" She turns and snarls at the stranger. "I fragging well am, and unless you want to kiss my claws, feel my teeth in your organs, or pay me not to kill your world, frag off!" The stranger nods and pulls back on the trigger of their strange metallic device. A small chemical explosion inside the device propels a metallic object with great speed into the chest of the Salaxonite war reaver, followed by 5 more chemical explosions propelling metal objects with great speed into a single direction. One strikes right in the middle of the female's 4 eyes and exits through the other side of her head. She drops dead, and one of her males flee into the night, eager to get away from being underneath one of the Salaxonite war cult's reavers. The other has joyful tears in his 4 eyes. The bartender looks down at the Salaxonite, one of the galaxy's most feared warriors. "What the frag just happened?" The stranger turns to the bartender and removes their hood and mask to reveal a male human, dark hair and deep dark eyes set in a dark face. "You know why you don't cross humans. We're persistence predators. We will follow those who have wronged us to the ends of the galaxy and further beyond to get revenge." The male human then turns to the remaining Salaxonite and reaches out a trembling hand. The alien grasps it and pulls the human into an embrace. "Damn war reaver stole my boyfriend. Took me 2 years to track her down. Set up a legal bounty on her head through third parties that I could get with my bounty hunter license. Find her schedule for the night, change it, and put those mild poisons into her food, enough to weaken her so I could get close enough to kill her." The human loots the dead alien's body of a personal datapad and logs onto it, using biometrics from the still warm corpse. He then frees both his boyfriend and the other poor Salaxonite male from the legal debt slavery they've been living in. "Babe, I can't believe that the last insane cult of your people actually managed to capture you. You've got terrible luck." The freed alien just giggles joyfully while crying tears of happiness. The human turns to the bartender. 2 glasses of Lenekian sweet wine, the 2501 vintage if you've got it, the year we met." The bartender, somewhat in shock over what had just transpired, pours out 2 glasses of the sweet wine. Thus, the human and his alien boyfriend celebrate their long-awaited reunion together.